fun Bray Wyatt story we can end the show with? Because I know he affected so many of our lives. I never knew him personally. I saw him 10 feet away at a press conference, but you obviously interact with him face to face. Do you have any fun Bray Wyatt stories before we wrap this up?
You know, I feel like the cool thing about listening to everybody's stories about Bray is that there was always a common thread in everybody's story, and it was always his smile, his laugh, and like he had the best hugs. He always had like these big bear hugs that you would just like look forward to, you know. And I'm so like I don't want to say I'm a very affectionate person necessarily, but I just you look forward to those Bray hugs because you just knew that they were filled with so much like there was no bad bone in his body. Like it was just so it was met with such love and just he was always looking to help people. Like even if they weren't in WWE, even if they weren't like, if they're trying, like we were also passionate about just wrestling and being in WWE and growing as characters and growing as people. And he's known, I mean, my God, I tried out for WWE back in, this was FCW 2010. And when I met him, I remember him like, obviously when you're getting there and people are just seeing you walking around, they're like, oh, okay, there's another human, whatever. But when they see you in the ring and they see you trying or they see you, cutting a promo right away, it was like, I had him on my side and I was like, wow, that's so cool. Like to have him actually backing me was just such a cool feeling. And just hearing all of the just advice that I would get from him was really cool. But I tweeted this too, but probably the coolest thing for me is seeing how much he cared as a person to person level. Like he knew how badly I wanted to be in WWE. I had been trying since 2010. I didn't get there to 2017. And when I came in for tryouts, like one of the scariest things to do as an extra is to have a tryout match before SmackDown started. So every week we'd have that because I was traveling with them as Rosebud. Just trying to like hopefully one time they'd be like, you know what, let's just throw her in there. Like I just was hoping to get like, a second look. And I had a match and I remember at that point, if you got the attention of the boys, of like the boys meaning like everybody like in the locker room, people surrounding the ring, because people are off talking about their matches, they're talking to the producers, whatever. But the second I got in there, I remember Bray turning around and seeing me and started watching, and he's kind of there and he's watching. I see him at the corner of my eye, he's watching, and he gets so into it that he started a Thea chant. Like he started like cheering for me like during the match, and it was like right as I was like hitting my comeback, and like he was getting everybody else involved, and everybody at that point was cheering for me. And then they started clapping after the match was done, and he led that. Like he led that whole thing. And then I see him walk up to who was in charge of TR at the time. At Talent Relations, and he said, she should be with us. That girl right there, she's been working her ass off. Like she deserves to be with us. And I was like, whoa, like Bray Wyatt just said that. Like that is the coolest freaking thing ever. And yes, it did take me some years after that, but just knowing that he was one of the people backing me, that he was one of the people supporting me, like that was just such a cool thing for me. Because I'm like, he didn't have to do that. Like he could have just continued going about his day and planning his match and whatever it is that he was doing, but he took that time to help me get better, help me be seen for what he saw me as. So I have nothing but like good, warm memories of him. And just thinking about how, and one of the things I also said was, obviously one of the things he used to say was, he has the whole world in his hands, right? But we saw the person that may have had the whole world in his hands, but all he wanted to do was give it to his kids and his wife. And that's, I think, was the most beautiful thing about him. He was such a great family man. So I love, actually, it's funny, is that was one of the few times when my husband saw Bray with his kids that he was like, I think I want a kid now. So it's, yeah, I remember that being one of the first times that he ever said that. So that was because of Bray. So
Wow.
Yeah, he'll always be so loved in our locker room and the fans and just everybody. I think that one was probably one of the hardest days I've ever had at work, ever. Like I could not keep it together at all. Even like before the match, I was a wreck. Like before the match with EO, I was a wreck. After the match, I was a wreck. But it was like you felt like you were doing it for him. And for some reason during that match, I felt like people say this like it's so cliche, right? But like I felt him there. I felt like his supportive kind of presence there. So it just, I think we'll always kind of have that no matter what.